Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Neighborhood with your hosts, Tim Johnson and Stacy Borho. Together, they are finding out what makes the heart of the Heartland beat. They sit down with people in your community that lead organizations, businesses, and government. You'll learn who they are and what they're involved in and why. They are the people in your neighborhood. It's In the Neighborhood with Stacy Borho and Tim Johnson.
Hi everybody, this is Tim Johnson and we have Stacy Borho here with us today.
Good morning everyone.
And we talk about community and how you can get involved with the community, and that's really everything that we're about, and all the different ways that you can volunteer and just put in your, 2 cents worth, your $5 worth, your time and effort
and treasure
to make all of the Peoria area and our world better. That's
right.
Really, in a nutshell, what we do. Today we've added new technology. You can actually scratch your screen and smell it, and okay, no,
it's not
that's
April
not
Fool's Day, Tim.
We're talking with Laura Sniff of Blue Ridge Community Farms. Tell us about what you are and what you do.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. It's
sure.
a pleasure to be honored to be here and let you know about what we do in the farm. Blue Ridge Community Farm is a nonprofit working farm for special needs adults and children, and we're located just outside of Chillicothe in the country.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you do? What do you do with what you do?
Yes. What we do. Well, currently we provide field trips for special education classes. We start up actually next Tuesday. Our season starts in May, so we're so excited that spring is here finally. Start in May, we go to about mid-November, and we have probably over 1,000 kids that come through. That's including children and adults. So we have field trips, and then we also do social events for adults with special needs. And in the future, our long-term vision is to provide employment for adults with special needs in a rural environment, because there's not that opportunity in our area.
That's so cool. So what kind of animals do you have out there?
We have, and I didn't bring any of them with me, but
That's too bad.
You're right. You might not say that when you hear it. We have 10 alpacas,
Cool.
which are the smaller version of a llama. We kind of call them the nicer cousin. And we have 4 donkeys, a horse, 8 chickens, and 3 golden retrievers, 2 puppies that were born last year, and an old farm dog, Maggie, who's about 12 now. She keeps them in line. But the alpacas, and we've had a couple babies born on the farm when we got the alpacas. We got 6 of them, and 5 of them were pregnant. And that's a whole nother story in itself. But the reason that we have the alpacas is we want to teach adults in the future how to make products from their fiber. So there's a reason for them. They also interact with all the visitors that come to the farm. The donkeys are super gentle. We've had Pancake and Janie are the mom and dad, and then we've had 2 babies born on the farm, Gus and Jessie. And then the horse, her name's Sugar, and she interacts with everybody, super gentle horse. The chickens, kids and adults pick them up, and they're very friendly too. They're all females, and they lay eggs, so we get eggs every day from them. And then our dogs, yeah.
Wow. So. Who gets to name all these animals?
Some of them came to us already named, and then some of them our kids, will name. Some visitors to the farm have named. The chickens, funny story, we had a young lady with Down syndrome. She's a young adult. Her first visit to the farm, she went out and was walking by the chickens, and she said, I love chickens. And I said, I'm sure they like you too. And she said, no, I really like to eat chickens. And she went to every chicken and she named each of them after a sauce. So one was barbecue and one was honey mustard and one was, the names didn't all stick. But yeah, so sometimes the names change and sometimes they don't. But that was a fun day.
That's so fun.
So disabilities means a lot of different things. So
Right.
what kind of disabilities generally do you work with?
Do we work with all disabilities? We have people that visit on the autism spectrum, from those with severe autism to those with mild autism. We have kids that come with Fragile X, and adults, Down syndrome, Angelman syndrome, a whole wide variety. We also have children and adults that come in wheelchairs, cerebral palsy and different physical impairments. Last year we had a school that came, and I think it took about 5 full-size school buses for them to come. They had 14 children in wheelchairs, and so we're completely accessible, which is great.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and we can actually wheel children and adults right into our animal pastures. We had one young lady, kind of a neat story. Her mom called me and said, can I bring my daughter up when nobody else is there? And I said, sure, that would be fine. And I didn't really know that much, about the family, but they pulled up and she came out and she was in a wheelchair, a young adult, and came to find out that she could only move her eyes. That was the only thing on her body that she could move. Extremely intelligent young woman. And she came with her mom and her nurse and an aide from school. And they said if she likes something, she blinks a lot. If she doesn't like it, she'll close her eyes. And they could really tell. She could communicate just with her eyes. It was amazing. And I said, well, can we go out into the alpaca pasture? And she said, yeah, that would be great. And so we wheeled her out to the alpaca pasture. And her nurse held a carrot in her hand, and one of our alpacas came up and took the carrot out of her hand, and she was just blinking. It was the coolest experience, and we are so blessed and humbled and honored because we get to see things like that almost on every visit. When children and adults interact with the animals, it's amazing. It's amazing the effect that animals have on people. Just one of our last field trips in November, we had a young lady with Down syndrome, and the teacher said, I don't know if she'll want to interact with any animals. She's not a big animal person, By the end of the day, she was going up to, it's just a little thing about this big, going up to the donkeys, grabbing their faces and going, like that, laying on our dogs, walking into the alpaca pasture with a carrot, up to these large animals with no fear. And the teacher was just amazed. So it's really neat because we see that all the time.
You're talking about the profit and non-for-profit is seeing those things happen.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Wow. So there's got to be a great story behind why this started.
Well, it's I'll try and make it a little shorter, but so my husband and I, Jim, we have 2 children. Allison, our daughter, is 8. She'll be 18 soon. She's graduating from high school and going to school, and she's just a wonderful young lady. And then our son Jimmy is awesome. He's 19, and he has significant autism, cognitive impairment. And when he was born, we didn't really know anything was wrong until he was about a year old. And the doctor thought he had cerebral palsy. It wasn't that. We were new parents. It was very devastating, not knowing what was going on with him. He was very delayed, and ended up not having the autism diagnosis till later in life, but we knew that he was cognitively impaired quite significantly. So we got involved in Easter seals and all of that early on, thank God for them. Then we also got into early childhood, and about the same time, so he was born in '99, in 2001, we found the farm and bought it, and we had lived in Dunlap. My husband grew up on a farm. Always have lived in the city, so this is all a new experience for me. But Jim always wanted to get back to farm life. His dad farmed for about 50 years, and so when we bought the farm, our intention was just to have it to retire on and to live and raise a family. We, at the time, were still living in Dunlap and weren't moved up to Chillicothe. Jimmy started early childhood at the age of 3, and his teacher was familiar with farms, and I think she grew up on a farm too. And anyway, she said, "Hey, do you think we could bring our class to your farm for a field trip?" And we said, "Yeah, that would be a great idea." So they came up as our first field trip. We had a tractor up there. We didn't live up there, so we met them up there. Had a tractor. Jim would put the kids on his lap with, because they were all little ones, ages 3 to 5. Put them on his lap with a hat, and big smiles. They just loved it. We had pumpkins that we handed out. We went on a hayrack ride, and all the parents said, "This is like the best field trip we've ever been on." And we kind of looked at each other like, I didn't hardly do anything. Well, then they kept coming back every year. So we kept doing the field trips. That started when he was 3. Then he was about, I think 8 years old, and he was having seizures and some medical issues with special education and all of that. And I found myself in Walmart one day by myself with no kids, and I thought, I'm going to grab a magazine that's not related to special needs and not related to medical stuff, and I just want to read it in my car for 5 minutes, just by myself. So I grabbed a People magazine, went to the car, opened it up, and here's this picture of this mom and dad with a little girl with Down syndrome poking out around behind them. And I start reading about it, and it's about this couple down in Texas that started this ranch called Down Home Ranch for people with special needs because of their daughter and how they were realizing there weren't a lot of services for her when she became an adult. Then at the same time, my mom had been telling me about a place up in northwest Indiana where I'm from called the Share Foundation that was started by a priest, and he had people living there that had special needs that were working and living and contributing, and just sounded amazing. So long story short, Jim and I decided to go visit these 2 places, and we volunteered and we spent time with them. And then it was just, like God kept throwing these things in our... See, this is a long answer, long answer to your question. Kept throwing these things in our path saying, this is what you need to do with this farm. So we started thinking about, how can we use this farm? How can we develop this to not only help our son, but to help all these amazing people that we're meeting through him? And then as we started thinking about, what's going to happen in the future with him, my plan was always, I'm just going to outlive him by one day. That's all I need to do is just outlive him by one day. But of course, that's not realistic. And so that's when we decided that, yes, we need to make this a place not only for our son, who loves anything about the country, he loves dirt, he loves John Deere, he loves, planting, all of that. But there's got to be other people out there, too, that want to work in a rural environment. Jimmy would have a really tough time working in fast food or working in a sheltered workshop. He needs to be outside doing things. And so that is how the farm has kind of evolved. We have a long way to go. We're not employing people yet, but that's our ultimate goal, is to provide employment and then hopefully housing someday too. We'd like to have a gift shop where people can make things and then sell it, and have that pride of seeing what they made being sold. So there's a big grand vision. The field trips are really important because what they do now is they expose people early on to what farm life is like. We've already had people coming back saying, someday I want to work with your chickens. Or I would really like to, can I mow? Things like that,
Sure.
that it kind of gives them exposure to those things. So long story short, it's no longer a retirement thing. In fact, I don't know if we'll ever retire, but that's kind of how it all came to be. But it's definitely a God-driven project, and something that we hope will be here years after we're gone and still helping people and giving them opportunities, because it's our state is like 47th in the country as far as helping and providing opportunities for people with special needs, which is really sad. There's like over 20,000 people just in Illinois on a waiting list for services, for funding for services. So, we want the farm to be self-sustaining. We want to use the land. We have 245 acres, so we want to use the land to be productive and bring that money back into the nonprofit. We don't want to take money from the government so that they come in and say, we're cutting this and we're cutting that. That's a long answer to
it's a great answer.
one question.
It's again, seeing a need and stepping up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of parents on our area. We've met amazing people. There's a group that comes to our farm called PUP. It's People with Unlimited Potential, and they come on Mondays. A group of young adults, and just wonderful. And the parents, they form this group to help their children, because once high school stops, it's like this abyss, and everything falls off. And they need jobs, they need social opportunities, and people with special needs are amazing workers. They're loyal, they're hardworking. I wish more employers could see that. And so that's another thing with our farm. We call it Blue Ridge Community Farm. It's on Blue Ridge Road in Chillicothe, and Jimmy used to always call it Blue Ridge Farm, so we had to keep that name. But we put the community in there because we're hoping that community members will come and work alongside with people with special needs and see how awesome they are, and form friendships, and realize that they can just do everything that we can do. Sometimes they just need a little extra time, a little extra help, but they can do it.
So what's your biggest need right now?
We need funds for long-term projects. Any donations are greatly accepted. We try, and our family's been self-funding a lot of things because we're trying to save as much as we can for when we do employ people. We need help with projects on the farm. We have 2.5 miles of trails that need to be upkeep. We have 5 primitive campsites, which is great, because then when we have church groups come, and we've had Girl Scouts come and Boy Scouts come, they can get service hours and then go and camp or picnic or whatever. We have opportunities for Eagle Scout projects. We've had 3 so far at the farm. We had an Eagle Scout build picnic tables, which was huge help.
Awesome.
We had another one build benches on our trails so people could stop and take a break and just enjoy the scene. It's real rolly out there. It's not a flat farm. Right. There's a lot of hills, and it's very pretty. We had another one make steps up to a bench, and then also make a accessible ramp for our hay rack trailer, which was great. So we need people that are good at construction, and there's
lots of things that
lots of
people
volunteer
can do.
help. I need help on field trips too when we have groups come. We have a yearly square dance. We have almost 200 people with special needs come to the square dance. It's in our barnyard. It's in the fall. You guys will have to come. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. we've done that. This will be our third year. Pup is actually who started that, and still, keeps it going. But yeah, we're close to about 200 people that come out for that. And then we'll have some movie nights this summer. We were very blessed to, R.K. Dixon, we won this contest with them, Make My Nonprofit Run Better.
Yeah.
And we got a projector from them so we can show movies out on the barn, which is really cool.
Very cool.
New copier and a printer and all that. But so lots of volunteer opportunities, and we'd welcome everybody.
How does someone get a hold of you?
They can go to our website, which is www.blueridgecommunityfarm.org.
Okay.
Our email is off of that.
Okay.
We're on Facebook, and those are probably about the best. Or they can call our office too, which is our home. We live there.
Awesome.
Too, so.
Well, we're out of time
Oh my
already.
gosh, already? Sorry. That went fast.
It's great. And you were worried.
I know, I was worried that
when you're
we didn't have a lot
passionate
of
about what
yeah.
you do, it's really easy to talk about it,
It
and
is.
you can tell that you are. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
And we're here again with Laura Sniff of Blue Ridge Community Farm, and really appreciate all you do. And if you're looking for something to do, some way to help out the community, this is a great way. It sounds like they have a lot of different opportunities to get involved. Thank you, everybody, and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
PeoriaLife.com